Welcome to Your Rich Black Friends, the podcast where we talk about building wealth in every sense of the word. Yes, money, but also peace, purpose, friendship, love, healing, community, and the kind of life that actually feels rich. We're your rich Black friends, not because we have it all figured out, but because we're committed to growing together, asking better questions, and having the conversations that don't always fit into a 60-second social media clip. I'm Aneem Awe. I'm one of your amazing hosts. And I'm here with my other amazing co-hosts, which I'll let them introduce themselves. Why don't you go for it?
I'll go. Hi, everyone. My name is B. Awe. If you're looking and saying, wow, they look alike, we are twins. I'm one half of her twin or the other twin. Anywho, what people might know me for, or I don't know that people actually know me, but let me tell you about a little bit who I am and how I've been able to build this journey of wealth. For me, I started my career in tech. And so tech has really been the catalyst for me to build wealth. And it's been, for me, really important to make sure that other people have the information that I've been privy to or have had access to along the way. And so that has been my journey. I'm an HR business partner. And I always say, as much as people hate and like throw shade at HRBPs, we get paid really, really well. And so another piece that I'm, thinking through is like, how do I get more Black women, more Black people in general into the HRBP space? Because it's such a critical role, but also pays really, really well. So that's a little bit about me. We'll learn more about me along the way. I'll hand it over to my other co-host, Robert.
Hey, beautiful people. I'm Robert H. Johnson Jr., also known as the corporate dropout. I built my career and my life on some very specific principles. One, that kindness is really currency. Two, that no gatekeeping is allowed. If I know it, I share it. And then three, that we're all called to wealth, to be rich. And again, that's rich in faith, finances, family, our physical well-being, our philanthropic, efforts, as well as our net worth, right? At the end of the day, we do want to be, rich and wealthy so that we can help other people, so that we can give more, serve more. People know me as someone who has, again, a deep financial services industry background, but I was able to pivot that into tech, starting my own business, and ultimately now doing what I love to do, which is advocating, mentoring, coaching, partnering, and collaborating in particular with Black women. Because when I tell you, you'll learn more about who I am and how I grew up and where I grew up. But one of the biggest advocates in my life has always been and continues to be Black women. So I am grateful to be a part of the Your Rich Black Friends team.
Awesome. So I guess I'll introduce myself as well. So I am Aneem, as I mentioned earlier, and my career started a little differently. I started out as a social worker, which then led me to become a licensed mental health therapist. So I have a deep working understanding around people, motivations, desires, and also other mental health issues. And I decided that I actually want to build more for myself outside of the traditional path. And so I landed in different or various situations that allowed me to do consulting, allowed me to do facilitation, some speaking engagements, and I really just built my career from there. And today I work as a director of marketing at a tech company. And I'm just so honored to do this work, but also it's just amazing and a testament to that your path doesn't have to look one way. And that's the richness in my life. So thank you all for introducing yourself. I want to start with what makes someone rich, right? I feel like there are conversations around money in our communities in particular, and it's not always easy to have. What do you think it is that makes somebody else rich outside of monetary value?
D, I'm going to let you take that one first.
The piece what makes someone rich, especially it's most salient to me today is health. Right. Like, and I'm talking as someone who has like a slight cold, and I'm not necessarily talking about health in that way, but like as someone who has a dad who's experiencing dementia, right? Like health, you cannot put a dollar amount on that. But also knowing that he's lived a long, great life. He is rich in experiences with his kids. Like my dad has a lot of kids. I always joke around. He has a starting lineup and a full bench of worth of kids. But
Yeah.
he's rich in that the richness that that came through his kids, the accomplishments through his kids. So it's not necessarily the what you have in your bank account at your end of the day. I think about also my mom. My mom has heart palpitations because she doesn't know how to chill out. There's a certain level of like richness that exists in just being able to just chill, just being to know that everything is going to be, even if everything's not going to be okay, you're just focusing on the things that you can control. So that's how I'm thinking about richness lately.
Wow, I love all of that. What I would add to that is for me, one of the definitions of rich and how you can expand your richness is integrity. I think that we are in a time where we're in an integrity deficit. It is
Yes.
when we are willing
Yes.
human experiences, human incomes for technology. When the reality is, it was a human that created the technology. It will be a human that will elevate the technology, right? And so I believe that being rich in integrity will open doors that no man can close. Will get you into spaces you never thought that you could get into, but will also get you out of things that you're not supposed to be in, right? For me, integrity guides my decisions and my choices, reinforces my values, makes me question. And I think we should all do this. Am I living the life that I want to live? Living the life that society, social media, and even my parents with best of intentions want me to live? A life of integrity is defined by you. It is designed by you. It is created by you. So for me, that's one of the ways in which I define rich. What about you, Anim? That was such a great question.
I love all of this, but in addition to this, I think the thing that makes me rich in particular is like my community, right? You all like having amazing people in your community. And I don't just say that from a sort of rich sense, but also it's been proven through like the research, the literature, right? When we think about our mental health, we think about our mental well-being. Community is a huge factor built into how we understand whether a person can be thriving versus like struggling or declining. And so leaning into community has so much richness in it because it helps you learn, right? It helps you feel sort of connected to a larger force, if you will. It helps you become a better person, all right? They always said the people you surround yourself, show me who you surround yourself with, and I'll tell you like what your sort of course looks like. And so I think community is the biggest thing. And I really thrive on that from, I was a young girl. This was something that's always been important to me. So community is everything. It's how I kind of get through my hard times, through when I'm cheerful and I want to celebrate something, I also lean back into community. So community is like the end all be all for me in a lot of ways, and definitely one of the ways that I define richness for myself.
Yeah, I just want to add on. I'm trying not to pile on, but like the piece around community integrity is resonating with me because there's just so many people online trying to sell you something and don't have the proven receipts or the track records to support it. I'm all for people's
Receive.
like, let's democratize information, let's
Yes.
democratize spaces and all of those things, but make sure you have a proven track record to support it. Everyone is selling you a course on how to do whatever insert whatever the thing is, and like that is the lack of integrity that is missing from me. And then on the community front, like we need people to show us what's possible. And I always, you know Robert and I worked at DoorDash together, DoorDash corporate, although we absolutely value our dashers because the model cannot work without the dashers, but we were DoorDash corporate.
Remember when we were there, you had to actually do the thing to be able to provide feed.
Yep. We had to dash. Yeah. I hated it. I'm like, I don't want to dash, but whatever. It was all for the betterment of the company. But anyhow, Robert and I working at DoorDash together, you illuminated this pathway of what's possible in terms of like earnings, right? Like how you can like build a really comfortable safety net for yourself. For me, safety nets were always associated with rich white boys and girls, quite frankly, right? And you showed me an alternative. So like I think I'm just really resonating with this community piece because sometimes it is as simple as someone showing you that this thing is possible, what it looks like to build wealth, in this instance, financially, to know that it's possible.
Absolutely.
Can I just jump in here
Go
because
for it.
no, that's what makes even your rich black friends different. We're not gatekeeping information. And if you are truly a part of our community, which we welcome you to our community, you will have access to information, access to exposure. There's the three E's that, you probably are familiar. but they talk about them a lot. Education, experience, and exposure. The
Yes.
main reasons that we came together and why we decided to do this is because not everyone has a quote unquote rich Black friend, let alone
Right.
a rich friend,
Right.
right? And so I love that we decided to be big, expand our community because it
Yeah.
us three and no more, right? But we're
Yeah.
like, we have experience. I love what you said, be around people are selling services without proof of concept, without
Right.
here is my roster of organizations or people that I helped. And unfortunately, because we know you want it that bad, we will
More to say.
or what we think we need and what we think we want, sometimes at our very own, not just financial expense,
Yeah.
but time. The
Yep.
reality is, no, you should not be taking advice, coaching, mentorship from someone who has not walked the path and can't illuminate. Yeah, these are the 30 people that I hired, that I developed
Mm.
it in the course of X amount of time or
Yeah.
hours. And so I love that you brought that full circle. And here's the thing, the other part around access to financial possibilities.
Yes.
Someone may not know that they can be a multimillionaire until you're transparent about how you became a multimillionaire.
Correct.
Tell you, for me, my richness or my wealth, whatever you want to call that, we know wealth has a definition. It
Yeah.
is the value of your assets, right? Liquid and investments
Yep.
that define your net worth. And when I was able to get to that point, that be illuminated, I had a responsibility to say, here's how I did it. I didn't do it the sexy way. Like people today, they get a job in tech and they make X amount of, and then I had to do it the old fashioned way.
Yeah.
Showed me, my mentor was a Jewish man named Dave, and we
Wow.
worked together. And he was very transparent enough to say, I see you and I see what you have the potential to be. So I'm
Mm.
open up.
Yeah.
I met B and she showed me who she was. And then Aneen, my you not even trouble. I got double blessing. As I mentioned earlier, I learned so much uh, from you two, and it was my responsibility, and it is to share with others who want the
Yeah.
knowledge and even a strategy.
Yeah.
Eh,
I have my own personal sorry, I'm just
no, no,
jumping
go
in.
ahead.
I have like I share this story often. Like Robert, when I met you, I met you through B. We were at Afrotech, right? Afrotech. We had the activation for mental health because I was the first therapist down at Afrotech. Let's be clear. And so because these two made it happen for me, my community. And I was discussing with Robert like what my speaker fees were. It's just I don't even know how we came about this conversation, but when I shared that with Robert, it was like he gave me this look on his face like, "Girl, you're not charging that no more, right?" And I share this because like that's the power of community. That's the power of like the people that you surround yourself help you elevate and help you get to a place or help you understand when like you're missing the mark, right? I thought I was doing well. I thought like I was charging a fair price, but when I got to connect with somebody that was been doing this for quite some time and had the knowledge, had the value, helped me understand like, hey girl, that's not enough. You're undercharging yourself. You're undervaluing yourself. Here's a better way, right? And surely that led to different opportunities. But that had that conversation not happened, had I not been able to connect with you, Robert, I would have still been charging, who knows, $500 for the hour, right?
No, you wouldn't have. We caught up to you or sooner than later. But I think, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Imagine if everyone had someone, just one person, to be that vulnerable,
Yes,
transparent, and just sacrificing. Because it's a sacrifice to be transparent and vulnerable and all of these things.
absolutely.
But when you know your legacy is not just the things that you leave behind, it is the people that you've built up over the course of your life that you will reflect back on and say, wow, right? I remember that conversation because I remember it as clear as day. I mean, I remember our conversations, although they were remote, because I think I was in LA and you may have been either in SF or in NY at the time, Jersey at the time, excuse me, but they resonate because I know you not only heard me,
Mhm.
did something with the information. Like that to me is what makes you rich.
Right.
Having a mind that's open to say, I don't know everything.
Correct.
And if a need,
Curious.
Or
what would you all recommend, like, for someone who is not connected to anyone yet, right? Hopefully they see us and, reach out and we were able to provide that support. But in lieu of that connection just yet, how does someone be able to like properly assess whether something is a grift or not, right? We're talking about
Ooh.
integrity. We're talking about the lack thereof integrity, which is huge. How do you assess if something is a grift or not? I'm curious for your or where we can just like give some gems to the folks who are listening.
That's an awesome question. I think for me, the thing that jumps out to me most is that the way most grifters thrive is that they sort of harbor in on your emotions. And so, like, I want you to take a moment, take a second, be mindful, just take a couple of seconds before you react, because that impulsivity can lead you down a path that might not be helpful for you. So, like, take your time and do your due diligence, right? Like LinkedIn is there, people's websites are there, people's bodies of work are out there. Take your time rather than reacting to go do some, initial like digging and researching, because that's okay. You want to make sure whoever you're handling your money over to or whatever have you, that this person is credible. And if you are a credible person, you have the social sort of capital out there. You have the sort of body of work that can be represented around this thing that you so called are the expert on that, right? So, like, there should be no hesitation or no issue accessing that information. That's directly where my mind went. I'm curious what y'all think.
yeah, I love the research aspect. I think the other thing, or a couple things, first and foremost, is know that there's a lot of information that you can get out there for free.
Mm,
Willing to pay for things, or people capitalize on vulnerability and willingness. You want something so bad that, oh yeah, I'll pay you this $1,000 to do this, or $500, or if it's for some people $50, they stretch. And so giving you my $50, like Aneem said, research that I'm worthy of your $50, not because you just like me, not because you resonate with my content, right? But also use discernment, right?
yes.
We have this beautiful gift that we've been given called discernment, intuition, not just faith, right? Faith is critical, because I can have faith to say, oh yeah, I have faith in B because she just, she looks like me, she talks like me. And people will take advantage of you because you look like them and you talk like them and you come from a background that they came from. There's
Mhm.
many scams that have happened because people take advantage of your vulnerabilities. So use your discernment.
Yes.
Figure out what's free. There's too much free information out there. And if I'm going to pay you, you have to give me something more than information or inspiration. I need a strategy.
Ooh,
Giving you a strategy that they can say, I've
strategy.
100 people have used this strategy and have earned or improved or evolved on paper, recommendations on LinkedIn. I love to ask for a recommendation on LinkedIn because people don't have to lie. They don't
Mm,
have a story. So for me, those are a few things to think about. Discernment, you know, doubling down on the research. Why pay for something that you can get for free,
right.
right? And just those are a few of my thoughts. B, what about you? What do you
What do you think?
I think y'all covered all the bases. The discernment is huge. Offering me more than just like inspiration or motivation. And I hate the word empowerment, because empowerment for me, I don't know that I can go to a brunch or something to be empowered, right? Like that is into work that needs to happen. So I think you all covered the bases, but I think it's just really important to just name that grifting part and like what are the things to look out for. The research piece is big for me. Like you need to have a track record, and by track record I do not mean Forbes listed it or featured in Forbes magazine, because everyone is conveniently featured in Forbes magazine. And in fact, I think this week a publication came out in which is it the
Bill
founder
Gates'
or
daughter.
Bill Gates's daughter. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bill Gates's daughter was falsifying her data, right? And saying that she oversold in this XYZ kind of way, which is very sadly in line with a lot of folks who are featured in Forbes 30 under 30. So like all that to say, I don't we can unpack that at a later date, but like don't fall for the Forbes thing. Like if you take anything away, lead with discernment, do the research, and do not fall for featured in Forbes, because anyone Forbes is pay for play. Anyone can be featured in Forbes.
Yeah. Beware of the shiny object syndrome. As a marketer, like that's how we lure you in. You gotta see past that.
Yes, and here's the thing. Take that advice from someone who is proof of concept. For example, B. has been in Harvard Business Review.
Come on, not everybody gets on
And
that.
you don't pay for play. You have to like
Be be
you
about
have to
it.
work with editors several rounds.
Story, get the heart of it right. And so, and you have to be excellent and exceptional. And that just lets you know who you're dealing with, right? So you exceptional, giving you perspective. Don't pay to play. We all get, especially if you leave when you leave corporate America, you announce yourself as a an entrepreneur, a consultant, and you get listed in these informational, listings. People are going to reach out to you. Hey, join this for $5,000, right? Pay for that. Do pay to play is not a requirement today. You have
Mm,
to too much
yep,
free to pay anybody, right? Unless it's a coach, unless
Yep.
a therapist,
yep,
unless it's somebody
yep,
building with you, right? And sometimes for you, because if you're not a builder, if you're a visionary, but you don't know how to develop strategy, you got to bring some. That's another how to avoid grift. What is the material, tangible thing that I'm going to get by paying for your service or for your class or your workshop?
that's it, that's it. What are the tangible items am I gonna take away from this session or this program that you're developing? So those are all great points. I wanna shift gears a little bit because we're talking about sort of relevant issues today, and I think because of who we are, it's gonna be important to talk about this, but there are nearly 600,000 Black women out of the workforce who have been pushed out of the workforce. Let me correct myself because I think framing in this is very important. And so there are a lot of sisters out there who aren't working, have a lot of questions, and obviously I think it's our responsibility while we have this platform to like, how can we like what are some tips that you all, especially as an HRBP, especially as a senior leader, like what are some tips that you all have for our sisters who might be listening and like feeling like, yo, I don't know what to do. I'm
Yeah.
struggling.
I would say the first place I begin with, and I know it sounds as a bit of a cliche, but the imposter syndrome gets louder, or the
Yeah.
the just like that internal voice, that internal negative voice can get
Yeah.
really, really louder, or loud during these moments of like stillness. That's what I'll call reframing it from unemployment till stillness. And
Yeah.
don't listen to those voices. I think that for me is a key starting place. The other place, or the other thing I would recommend, is do not just be applying blindly on job boards. When as a coach, when someone is coming to me and saying like, "Hey, it's not working for me. I've applied to 200 jobs. I've gotten no hit." I know for sure that being in-house, recruiters will always prioritize referrals, right? You have to get referrals, and that speaks to a different level of richness. That's social capital. And so
There it
how are you
is.
using your social capital to get access to these referrals and things like that? But like applying blindly on job boards is the easiest way to like fail quickly, unfortunately. So like having to leverage social capital in that way is going to be super critical. Rob, curious about your perspective on this.
Yeah, you really built well on my philosophy is that community is currency, right? Like a lot of networking, and networking today is exhausting. I hate it, to be honest. I hate networking. I don't do it a
Yeah.
lot because it's really set up to be in a taker environment. Networking is all about what can I get from you?
Yeah.
What we can build together. Community is I have a dozen eggs. You need some eggs. You don't just need one. I'm going to give you a portion of the eggs that you need, if not what you want, right? So your community is such a powerful tool, resource in your whole life. Whether you're building a career, you're building a business, your psychological, mental, physical, emotional well-being, your community supports, right, or is pulling you down. And if all you have is a network and not a community, you will only reach out and or be reached out to when you need something. And how many people need something today? Hundreds of thousands, which is what we're talking about. And so for me, remember, community is currency. Be curious, right? And I love what you said, be around still. This is a period of stillness, right? That means that you should be curious about who you are, what you want. Have you built a career based off of expectations of others or based off
Mm,
skills, abilities, wants, desires, and ambitions? Because if we're honest, a lot of us have built careers based off of a need, off of an expectation, right? And not often enough based off of who do I want to be, right? So I want you to be reflective. And the last thing I'll say is it can feel isolating. It can feel lonely. I've been there in terms of I've been laid off several times, rift, laid off, whatever. They took something that I thought I was going to have for a while.
Yeah.
So we can
Yeah.
relate to that experience. First,
Yeah.
I was laid off, I was 22, 23, and it just kind of set the stage for me to begin to expect that and not think that I'll be with a company for 30 years because it's most certainly not going to happen anymore. And so that's what I would say is just remember you're worth more than how you've been treated. Sometimes the rug is pulled out from under us to remind us that we were standing in the wrong place.
Ooh, that's so good. I mean, I feel like you hit on a lot of things. And from my perspective, it's always about your mental health and, checking in with yourself, understanding the signs for yourself. And so that's where my mind always goes because I too have been laid off a number of times, more times than I like to admit. And one of the things that, like B mentioned earlier, it's so quickly to sort of default to those negative messages. It's so easy to default to this place of like, you question your worthiness, you question your capabilities, you question just your whole entire being. And so to that I say that it is okay, or getting to the point where like you recognize that you may need more professional help, and that's okay, right? That's a part of the journey of recovery and getting to a place where you feel stable again, because sometimes we got to work through that mental health stuff because it could have been a traumatizing experience at work, right? My little sister told me today there was like physical abuse at her workplace. I'm like, oh no, sis, we might have to contact a lawyer. Um, but well, that's another story for another day. But like, there's a lot of things that can kind of come in our work experiences that can shape us in some negative ways or impact our mental health in negative ways. So it's really important to get the support that we need, right? And maybe you're off insurance, or you because you're no longer employed, you don't have insurance. Check out a local community health center, right? Especially if it's a federally qualified community health agency, they by law have to provide care for people in need, right? So that means they understand the financial barriers, they understand the insurance barriers. And so that's what they're designed to address, that sort of issue. And so working on your mental health and leaning into the community is the biggest thing, because the other thing about mental health, or particularly like depression and anxiety, we tend to sort of defer to isolation, right? And so like we have to actively work through that, right? So like surrounding yourself around community, surrounding yourself around love, or whatever that looks like. A woman's group, right? When I got laid off, we were living in the Bay Area, my sister and I would go all the way from Berkeley to Palo Alto to go to a women's employment group, right? So I can learn strategies and learn to improve my resume, all those things. But I would take that commute just to be in community, right? And so like it was a sacrifice, but I challenged myself each time. And so those are the big things, or the biggest pillars for me, if you find yourself in this difficult time.
Yeah. And and we would be remiss if we didn't talk about like networking in the traditional sense. I know so much is, I also got laid off. It's something that's very humanizing when all three people on the call have been laid
Yeah.
off, right? So when I was laid off back in 2014, I made it my job to go to in-person events. And I know the landscape has since changed since COVID, but like it's really important where you can and you are able to get that IRL connection. It's going to be super important. And so I'm a big fan of going to events and making yourself known. And I don't mean by like drumming the horn or beating the drum or something like that, but like asking strategic questions, making sure you're making good use of your time and space that you have with people. Just being strategic about those moments so that you're able to like you're giving these folks something to remember. The last thing I will say is like, because we're committed to like lifting others as we climb, if you are someone who has been impacted by a riff, a layoff, whatever they want to call it, we do invite you to email us, your rich black friends, the podcast at gmail.com, and send us your questions. We want to use this time to be actively, workshopping through questions that y'all are sitting with in order to drive value. And maybe that's the corporate ingrained in me, but we want to add value to our listeners. And so whatever questions you're sitting with related to finances or career and mental health, because we do have a mental health expert on the call, we
Bring them
do
to the
invite you
show.
to email us to ask us those questions or hit us up on Instagram, your rich black friends.
So really quick, rapid fire, I'm just going to ask one question. What's one unpopular opinion that each of you have as it pertains to richness and wealth, and maybe how it's displayed on social media? Take it. One unpopular opinion.
I'll start is that you have to do another thing. Reality is before you are rich, you have to believe in anything, you have to believe that abundance is yours. You have to believe that you were born for a purpose with a purpose and that you deserve all good things in life. And so for me, it is the create another video that looks like this, post on social media every single day. It is the add this additional certificate. I love
Mm,
it, but don't you get a degree or a certificate unless you want to, unless you want to do, right?
yes.
Build off of that. But I want to, that'll be my answer to that very, very, important question.
Absolutely. B, go for it.
That was brilliant, Robert. I will say really quickly, this is more of a byproduct of like capitalism and people being socialized poor, but working 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7 jobs is not going to make you rich. That is only that's going to deteriorate your body. And I realize that there are circumstances that are promoting that don't allow people to not, for that not to be their reality. But like, I think it's worthy of calling that out.
That's so good. Real quickly, having multiple degrees isn't going to get you a bunch of money. Sorry, y'all. And we can dissect that on another episode, but thank you so much for tuning in to Your Rich Black Friends. And remember, being rich isn't just about what's in your bank account. It's the life you're building, the people you're becoming, yes, and the community you're creating. Thanks for hanging out with Your Rich Black Friends. Make sure you subscribe on all channels, YouTube, Spotify, everywhere we're at. We want to see you there, and follow us on Instagram, and make sure you submit your questions for next time. Take care, y'all.
Stay rich.
Stay rich.